Welcome to the Intelligence Stack.
Yeah, so glad to be diving into this today.
Because today we're setting out on a mission to explore something that is happening quietly, right under our noses. I mean, in almost every office building in the world right now.
Exactly. It's completely pervasive.
We are looking into the silent collapse of the traditional talent pipeline. But, more than that, we're asking a pretty profound question, like, what does it actually mean to be talented in a world where machines are, well, functionally speaking, they're good enough?
Right. It is a massive structural shift. I mean, we're entirely rethinking what human capability even looks like at this point.
And to really grasp this, I want you to picture a scenario. So somewhere in a mid-sized consulting firm right now, there is a first-year analyst writing a memo.
Doing the standard grunt work.
Exactly. She has been working on this thing for 4 solid hours, and the formatting is absolutely clean. The logic is completely sound. She's, double-checked her citations, and they are real. By every traditional definition of the word, she is doing talented, high-quality work.
She's doing exactly what she was hired to do.
Right. She's proud of it. But here is the catch. One floor up, her manager produced a comparable memo. Same quality, maybe even a little bit better, and definitely faster.
A lot faster.
Yeah, it took the manager 11 minutes using Claude.
And the really tragic part of this scenario is that nobody has told that first-year analyst yet. She thinks she's building her career foundation. She thinks she's doing the hard yards. But the floor has completely dropped out from underneath her.
We have to be clear with you, this is not just a quirky technology story. This is a story about the fundamental definition of human value in the workplace. I mean, the head of Anthropic, Dario Amodei, has been incredibly blunt about the stakes here.
Yeah, his timeline is aggressive.
Very. We are looking at a reality where 50% of all entry-level white-collar jobs could be completely wiped out within 5 years. That would push unemployment up to somewhere between 10 and 20%. Let's just pause and hold on that for a second.
Yeah.
10 to 20% unemployment.
We really need to emphasize who we are talking about here. For decades, when society talked about automation, the cultural image was factory workers or truck drivers.
The assembly lines.
Right, the assembly lines. That is not what this is. We are talking about junior analysts. We are talking about associate software engineers, early career lawyers.
Knowledge workers.
Exactly. The people your organization currently refers to as its pipeline.
The people doing the foundational grunt work that supposedly teaches them how to eventually become senior leaders. And if that pipeline breaks, the entire concept of how we develop talent breaks right along with it.
Okay, let's unpack this because the boardroom conversations happening right now seem to be entirely missing the real threat. Let's look at where this disruption is actually taking place.
Yeah, boardrooms are just looking in the wrong direction.
Right.
We have comprehensive data tracking the U.S. labor market from MIT and Oak Ridge, and it shows that current AI models can already replace about 11.7% of the workforce.
To put a dollar amount on that, we're talking about $1.2 trillion in wages across finance, healthcare, professional services.
Wait, $1.2 trillion in wages. That is a staggering number.
It's massive. But the tech layoffs that make all the headlines, the role shifts in IT that everyone is panicking about, that only represents 2.2% of the total wage exposure.
Wait, really? Just 2.2?
Yeah, that is literally just the tip of the iceberg.
So where is the rest of it? Like, where is that other 4/5 of the exposure hiding?
It's sitting entirely beneath the surface. It's in HR, logistics, finance, office administration. It's the invisible back office infrastructure. That's the real target.
The stuff that keeps the lights on.
Right. Organizations are currently spending millions building out these fancy, responsible AI slide decks and governance frameworks, but they're only solving for 1/5 of the actual problem. The rest is completely underwater, silent, and it's moving toward shore very quickly.
The speed of this shift is what I find truly mind-blowing. If you look at McKinsey's workplace surveys, back in 2023, only 30% of employees reported using AI at work. Fast forward just 24 months to 2025, and that number is 76%.
That speed is the core reason HR departments are in a state of quiet panic right now. Most traditional corporate talent strategies take 18 months just to design.
Yeah, corporate moves slow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then another 2 years to implement across a global organization, the environment they were designed for has already fundamentally changed twice by the time they actually roll the thing out.
It's like corporate leadership is frantically building these massive, expensive dams outside to stop a flood, completely ignoring the fact that the water is already rising up through the plumbing in the basement.
That is a great way to look at it.
And the basement, in this analogy, is those entry-level jobs, which means we really need to look at what those basement-level jobs actually did for human development.
Because before we can talk about what talent is becoming, we have to be brutally honest about how it was formed in the first place. You've probably heard of the 10,000-hour rule.
Right, from Gladwell and Anders Ericsson, the whole mastery through practice thing.
Yeah. The core idea is that mastery is the product of deliberate repetition. But it's not just a cute metaphor. It is a physical, neurological reality. When a human attempts a task, fails, realizes they failed, and corrects it, their brain wraps a substance called myelin around the neural pathways used for that task.
Okay.
The more you do it, the thicker the myelin gets, and the faster and more intuitive those signals become.
So you get good at something by doing the low-level, frustrating version of it badly for a long time until the patterns become intuitive. It's a furnace of formation.
Exactly. A surgeon doesn't learn judgment from reading a textbook checklist. They become skilled by holding a scalpel, feeling the resistance of human tissue, and making microscopic corrections over thousands of hours.
Right, right.
And a financial analyst becomes skilled by building Excel models, watching them break, struggling to figure out why the formula failed, and then building better ones. It becomes embodied judgment.
So the point of the grunt work wasn't actually the output. Like, the company didn't technically need the terrible first draft or the broken financial model. The point was the formation of that human judgment.
That is the open secret of the corporate world. We paid juniors to do low-level work as a subsidy for their education.
So here is the crucial question. If I'm a hospital administrator or a law firm partner and I decide to outsource the first 8,000 hours of that grunt work to an AI because, it's vastly cheaper and faster, how do my juniors build that myelin? Where does the human judgment come from?
They don't build it. The generation entering the workforce right now is the very first to have their grunt work years outsourced before they've even started.
Yeah.
We won't feel the full structural impact of this for another decade.
But think about what that means. In a decade, we are going to have senior leaders who have never actually failed at the foundational version of their jobs.
It's terrifying.
They will know how to prompt the machine, sure, but they won't understand the underlying physics of what the machine is actually doing. And when the machine gets it wrong in those really subtle, consequential ways, they won't have the embodied intuition to catch it.
It's the physical structure of how expertise forms applied to a completely hostile new environment.
Let's play devil's advocate for a moment, though, because there is an optimistic view here and we need to explore it. What if grunt work is just grunt work? If the repetitive execution is gone, what is left for the humans?
The optimistic case argues for a massive shift from creation to curation.
Right, so imagine a graphic designer. Today, using AI, that designer can generate 200 variations of a corporate logo in a single afternoon. The technical barrier to physically drawing the image has completely collapsed.
Completely.
The bottleneck is no longer production. So what is her actual job? It's curation. Her primary skill is taste.
Yes, out of those 200 AI-generated logos, she has to know which 3 are actually worth showing to the client. The algorithm cannot make that decision.
Because it doesn't have the context.
Exactly. The algorithm doesn't understand the client's complex political context, or the visual codes of their specific industry, or the subtle psychological effect a certain shade of blue will have on their target demographic.
Taste becomes the new technical skill.
We actually see this reflected in massive global labor studies. Look at the WEF's Future of Jobs report for 2025. Out of roughly 2,800 different professional skills assessed, do you know how many of them had a very high capacity to be replaced by current AI?
I don't know, maybe half.
0.
Wow, out of 2,800 skills, 0 in that judgment layer.
AI is eating the execution layer entirely, but it is leaving the judgment layer totally exposed, understaffed, and suddenly much, much more valuable.
Which means we are seeing the comeback of the polymath.
Absolutely. The Marketing AI Institute showed that demand for AI fluency, meaning the ability to conceptually manage these tools at work, has skyrocketed. It's increased 7-fold over the past 2 years alone.
That's incredible.
The most valuable person in the room is no longer the hyper-specialist who goes a mile deep in one narrow silo. It's the polymath who can credibly think across 3 different domains.
Someone who can understand the code architecture, grasp the product logic, and read the customer psychology all simultaneously. The machine does the technical execution for each layer, but the human synthesizes them. Here's where it gets really interesting. It's like moving from being the painter who spends all day physically mixing the pigments in a studio.
To becoming the museum curator.
Yes. Becoming the museum curator who decides which art actually goes on the wall to create a masterpiece exhibition. The job fundamentally changes from manual creation to high-level discernment.
It's a very compelling analogy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not sure I buy the taste argument entirely because there is a massive structural flaw hiding inside it. What happens when absolutely everyone is curating from the exact same AI tools?
The homogenization problem. Yeah, this is the part that is genuinely concerning. If everyone is using the same large language models, trained on the same corpus of human output, and using the same prompting tutorials, the output inevitably converges. It all turns into what we might call competent beige.
Let's talk about why competent beige happens. Large language models and AI generators are fundamentally math engines. They are calculating the most statistically probable next token, or pixel, or note. By definition, they are optimizing for the median.
But aim for the middle.
Always. They smooth out the weird, the quirky, the friction that makes human art or human strategy actually interesting. Researchers at the MIT Media Lab analyzed 10,000 AI-generated music tracks recently. Over 70% of them shared nearly identical chord progressions.
So they're technically correct, but emotionally totally flat.
Exactly. The output of the tool becomes the new floor, not the ceiling. And when AI becomes the baseline, the economic premium shifts entirely to divergence. Producing something good or competent is no longer a skill.
Because the machine does good and competent for free.
Right. The real skill is producing something with deliberate friction, intentional subversion, something that quite literally could not have come from a machine averaging out human history.
It's an authenticity tax. We are already seeing data from the Nuremberg Institute showing that if you simply label a product advertisement as AI-generated, it immediately lowers a consumer's willingness to purchase it.
It's an immediate turnoff.
Yeah. The audience isn't being told the ad is inherently worse. They are just reacting to the fact that it came from a machine.
We see the exact same behavior in the music industry right now. SyncVault's latest trends report showed nearly 3/4 of content creators are actively going out of their way to explicitly license music from identifiable human composers rather than using free AI tracks. What's fascinating here is that this is exactly how the luxury handmade watch industry works.
Oh, I love this comparison. Let's expand on the watches.
Think about the value of a $50,000 handmade mechanical watch. The value isn't primarily the watch's function. A $10 digital Casio keeps objectively better time. The staggering value of the mechanical watch is the embedded proof that a human being spent an enormous amount of time doing something incredibly difficult in a world where machines could do it faster and cheaper. The watch is a signal. It says, this required a person, this required pain and effort. And that scarcity of human effort is about to become a major economic category across all professional domains.
Okay, I see where you're going, but if human authenticity and human judgment are going to command this massive premium, we run into a brick wall. How do organizations actually grow those premium humans if all the entry-level jobs are gone?
This is where the optimistic taste argument really falls apart for me.
It's the paradox of the whole situation.
Exactly. You can't just be a brilliant film director who has never actually touched a camera. If you've never spent a weekend failing to light a scene the way you imagined it, your visual intuition is going to be incredibly thin. The theory of the shot relies on the physical experience of the shot. And that physical experience is vanishing from the corporate world. We are seeing McKinsey data indicating that agentic AI is rapidly taking over lower-level development work. And we should define, the term agentic AI doesn't just mean a chatbot that answers a question.
It's taking action.
Right. It means an autonomous system that goes out, opens 3 different software programs, completes a multi-step workflow, and emails a result without human supervision.
So the machine isn't just helping you write, it's doing the whole task.
It is doing the task. This is driving layoffs at the bottom of the org chart, while simultaneously creating this fierce, cutthroat competition for senior AI talent at the top. The bridge between junior and senior has essentially been blown up, but both ends of the bridge remain standing.
It's a total evaluation crisis. Think about it from a hiring manager's perspective. If you have an A student and a C student, and they both use an AI assistant to produce the exact same brilliantly written analytical essay, the signal is entirely broken. How do you spot talent when the output that used to signal it is now just generated by an algorithm?
You can't. You're trying to hire and promote based on signals that were calibrated for a completely different technological era. And this creates what we call an epistemology problem for companies.
Okay, break that down for us.
Epistemology is just the philosophy of how we know things. An organization used to know things because its people learned them from the ground up, shared that knowledge, and built a collective intuition.
So, what does this all mean? Let's talk directly to you, the listener, for a moment. If a company is cutting junior headcount today just to save some money on the P&L, they aren't just cutting costs. They are creating a massive organizational intelligence void 7 years from now. You cannot simply import senior leaders later because every single other organization is making the exact same bad bet today. The talent supply doesn't just magically appear. It has to be grown.
Organizations are changing how they execute tasks without asking if they can still learn new things. But, before we conclude, we really have to look at one uncomfortable, skeptical possibility about how we used to define talent.
The idea of protected opacity, this is fascinating. The argument is that maybe talent was just a convenient word we used for labor that we simply didn't understand.
Exactly. When a process is invisible, it looks like magic. When coding was this invisible, arcane language to most business leaders, the people who could do it had a mystique. When corporate strategy was developed in a black box, the strategist was deemed a genius. AI has taken these previously invisible processes and made them transparent, reproducible, and incredibly cheap.
Wait, hold on. Let me push back hard on that. Are you telling me that a brilliant software engineer or a top-tier corporate strategist wasn't actually talented? That it was just a parlor trick or information asymmetry? The practitioner knew how to do it, the observer didn't, so the observer paid a premium. Are you saying the machine just exposed that the emperor had no clothes?
Not a parlor trick, but we mislabeled what the talent actually was. We confused the execution of the task with the genius of the task.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this doesn't mean human skills are worthless. It just forces us to clarify what actually matters. The World Economic Forum has pointed out that we have to make an explicit distinction between what the machine does, which is optimized for mathematical plausibility, and what requires a true human substrate.
A human substrate, meaning lived experience, moral agency, and crucially, the willingness to be wrong. A machine will never give you that.
The machine has never made a genuine mistake. It only calculates probabilities based on its training data. Because it doesn't feel the pain of failure, it cannot teach a human how to recover from a mistake. It cannot teach resilience.
Which brings us to the tragic stakes of all this. Economic projections suggest that AI-powered agents could generate roughly $2.9 trillion in annual U.S. economic value by 2030. But getting that prize requires a complete workflow redesign. You can't just slap AI on top of your current org chart. And right now, we are quietly, invisibly eroding human capability to chase short-term efficiency.
We are outsourcing our learning. We are trading long-term human development for short-term margin. And the ultimate casualty of that outsourcing is the missed Mozart.
The missed Mozart.
Somewhere out there is someone with the potential for absolute paradigm-shifting genius. But they will never get the structural architecture to express it simply because the machine did their foundational scales, their harmony, their counterpoint for them.
They'll never do the grunt work.
Right. They will have musical fluency because the AI provides it instantly, but they will never develop the deep, grueling structural understanding required for true musical innovation. Giftedness without formation isn't genius. It's just potential that never fully materializes.
And that leaves you with a final thought to really mull over today. If the furnace of that entry-level struggle is fully automated away because it's cheaper and faster, where exactly is the next generation supposed to go to fail safely? If the workplace is no longer the classroom of experience, what will replace it? Because right now, there is a first-year analyst up on the 4th floor who thinks she's building a foundation, while the machine upstairs just automated her future in 11 minutes.
It is a structural shift we are only just beginning to understand.
Thanks for diving deep with us. Keep questioning the pipeline.